All right.
Good afternoon once again, jurors. A motive, an opportunity. Guilty hands indicating a guilty mind. Your duty to give a just conviction. Each step, each testimony we've heard, and the evidence that we've presented to you in court will prove that Tony Grubb is guilty of burglary and guilty of assault. A motive. What was Tony Grubb's motive? Tony Grubb is now destitute. He's without work. And being without work, he is without money. Without money, he's without the means to provide for his girlfriend, Selena Hardaway. He's without the means to provide for her children, one of which is sick. So Tony Grubb had all the motivation in the world to acquire money fast. His motivation was materialized when he took advantage of an opportunity that he saw to break into the home of Elise Stevens, to hold her and threaten her and say that if she were to report that break-in, that he would come back and do harm to her, meeting the element of assault, putting her in the apprehension or actual fear. In doing so, Tony Grubb took advantage of this opportunity. On July 1st, when the rest of the town is asleep, Tony Grubb was awake, scheming, finding a way that he could lay hold of valuables that he would then turn in for cash. Tony Grubb didn't hesitate when he went into the home, constantly asking Elise Stevens more and more questions, trying to acquire more and more valuables to which he could then later pawn off for money, a way to materialize his motivation. So we see his motivation, we see the opportunity that he took advantage of. Tony Grubb also had guilty hands. Sometimes you only need to see a shark's fin in order to know that there is a shark submerged underneath the water. Sometimes you only need to see the mane of a lion to know that there's a lion hiding behind the bush. Well, Tony Grubb gives us both a shark's fin and a lion's mane in the form of his fingerprint that he leaves at the scene of the crime. Elise Stevens reports that the burglar comes into her home, opens the refrigerator, and removes a piece of chocolate, leaving a fingerprint behind. Tony Grubb had guilty hands. That very same fingerprint that he left on the chocolate package was the fingerprint that he used to identify himself when he pawned the stolen necklace just a few days later after the robbery. Tony Grubb had guilty hands. Tony Grubb also had a guilty mind. His defense for not being the person that broke into Elise Stevens' home is that he was unlucky. He said he was unlucky that he was playing a game of pool. After he bets money on it and loses the game, or wins the game, the individual that owes him money decides to give him the stolen necklace instead. Tony Grubb took that necklace. He says he's unlucky that he may have been he was a supervisor at a store where at a time he may have stocked the shelves with chocolate that Elise Stevens may have taken off the shelves, purchased, and then brought into her home. He says it was unlucky that that may have happened. That he just came upon the golden necklace, that he, by chance, Elise Stevens just came upon and purchased that very same chocolate that he stocked. Unlucky? I'm sorry, Tony Grubb, unlucky people don't leave their fingerprints inside of the scene of a crime. I'm sorry, Tony Grubb, unlucky people don't go off and pawn stolen items just days after they're stolen. Oh, Tony Grubb was not unlucky. Tony Grubb had his motivation to get money, had the opportunity that he took advantage of on July 1st. Left back guilty hands, and in his poor excuse, demonstrated his guilty mind. What does the rest of the evidence demonstrate? Well, Elise Stevens, the only eyewitness at the crime, was able to identify Tony Grubb to his exact physical dimensions to within a few inches of his height, a few pounds of his weight. Being able to positively identify him as close as she could to those exact dimensions. Further evidence shows that the very flashlight that was used by the perpetrator was still left on the table. Evidence continues to show that Tony Grubb's only alibi, Selena Hardaway, wasn't sure if she was awake or asleep at the time when Tony Grubb leaves the home. The evidence speaks as loudly as the rest of the motivation and opportunity does. That Tony Grubb was in fact the individual at the home. That Tony Grubb was in fact the burglar, the intruder that broke into the home with the intention of committing a felony. The very elements that we were required to prove and that we did prove. So what we're asking of you is not anything outside of what you know you're already responsible for. We're not going to pontificate about how you're the last weapon of justice, you're the last defense for old women anywhere. No, you know that already. You wouldn't be in this jury pool if you didn't understand that. What we're asking of you is to follow the logical progression. Tony Grubb's motivation, his opportunity, the guilty hands that he leaves, the guilty mind that he demonstrates, and the rest of the evidence. And follow that to its logical conclusion that Tony Grubb is in fact guilty of burglary and assault.